That being said, now let's take a real look at what has happened over the last couple of months in the United States. Number one, people have self-sequestered in their homes, self-quarantined. Let me say this, I do not doubt that there is some virus somewhere that's killing people with weak immunities. I'm sure there is, because there has always been something every year that kills a number of elderly and folks and people with weak immune systems. Whoa! But Americans, under the guise of stopping this outbreak, this plague that we had been programmed since I was young to be looking for. For instance, the movie I've seen movies such as Quarantine, and I forgot what that does to them. Break out, something, I don't know. Contagion, movies like that. Programmed our minds. It is called television programming for a reason. Because they use these shows to influence our mind. They use these shows to desensitize us. They use these shows to predictably program us to accept their narrative. Now, that being said, the last programming that involved a contagion, a plague, was one of the most watched television shows in human history. It was called The Walking Dead. There was so much predictive programming and desensitization happening every week on that show that it's no doubt that we are where we are. And they knew this. Now, a side note here, the band Tool, Maynard and the guys waited 13 years from their last album to put this album out. 13 years. The album is called Fear Inoculum. Fear of a virus is what's got Americans in their home. An inoculum is a sample of a virus that you use to get the vaccine, the antibodies from. That's what an inoculum is. So it's an inoculum for the fear that is coming. The first song on the album speaks of an outbreak, a contagion, in which the change, it is the catalyst for the change that permanently affects society, weeding out the weaklings. It's a lie, and it says it in the tools. The next song is Pneuma. like pneumonia. COVID-19 is a type of pneumonia. Is a type of pneumonia. Make no mistake about it. And pneumonia will kill you. I remember all my life being told to put on my coat because if I don't put it on my coat or get my shoes on, I'm going to catch pneumonia. I'm going to catch COVID-19 or the novel coronavirus. Do you understand that in the future, educated people will know true facts from misinformation by words such as novel? Now, novel is a work of fiction by an author. Novel coronavirus, in the future, they'll know it was a fictional pneumonia virus. Yep, fact. So, all this predictive programming from The Walking Dead to Contagion to the Tool album released in August of last year. This predictive programming, this fear-mongering, we have seen video footage on television of all these people dying and the bodies are stacking up. Did you know that the mortality rate for pneumonia, COVID-19 to be specific, is 0.01%. That means 10 in 100,000 who get the virus, and make no mistake about it, if you get tested for the virus, you will have the virus because the test kits contain the virus. That's 0.01% of those infected will die. That means 10 in 100,000. By comparison, 13.9 just Americans last year died of fentanyl overdoses. By comparison, last year in the United States, of the entire populace, not just people infected with the coronavirus, we're talking about the entire populace. If I were to calculate the uninfected of the entire populace, only 3 people in 100,000 will die of the coronavirus. That's less than influenza will kill. That's less than medical mistakes made by doctors will kill. That's less than automobile accidents will kill. That's less than the suicide rate for the United States, and that's only teenagers. We have teenagers addicted to psychotropic drugs like Ritalin, been given it since they were children, being taken off of it, and weeks later they're blowing out their brains, they're hanging themselves, they're dying, they're dropping like flies. Your president doesn't give a shit about you. Your government does not give a shit about you. A billionaire who has a building on 666 5th Avenue. And he does. He is not a Christian. He has a form of godliness, denying the power thereof. In the last days it shall be the age of deceit, and even the very elect shall be deceived. The deception is here. The fear should not be of the... Why do you think Bill Gates, of all people, his net worth is $98 billion? He has spent his entire life developing a vaccine that is digital in nature, that can receive 5G internet signals and reply to its master, which is artificial intelligence powered by quantum computers. Make no mistake about it. If they're telling you they're developing artificial intelligence, it's been online probably since 2001. September 11, 2001 has been called the day that reset time. Because we all remember, people my age remember life before September 11 and life after September 11. Make no mistake about it, and let's be real about it. What has occurred in the United States is a September Pearl Harbor type attack, but they're not hiding who's behind it. Your government has used frequencies, has used programming, has used propaganda, has used bias, has used your government, the very elite, have locked the world down. Never in the history of the human race has nations worked together with such diligence to enslave the people. We are at a stage economically in the United States and the world where 10 people have as much wealth as the other 7 billion combined. Think about that for a minute. If the technology exists to travel in time, they've done it because they have the money to do it. As fast as the national debt grows, so does the wealth of these 10 people. We don't need to pay attention to no debt clock anymore because there is no United States. I don't know if you paid attention, but when Donald Trump speaks at the podium at the White House, there is no longer a United States flag or the presidential seal on the podium because there is no America anymore. Let that sink in for a minute, what's happening. They have used a virus to shut down the churches. There is no longer worship, and the Bible says, whenever 2 or more are gathered in my name, I am in the midst of them. And it's not happening anymore. The freedom of assembly has been taken away under the guise of a virus. The freedom of religion, the freedom of press. America is gone. This is the reset. The world that you live in after this can be determined by you.